Okay, so y'all, quick update. So I've been working on this video for the past 2 days, and I recently just found out, literally 2 hours ago, that Trump recently just announced that him and his administration will actually be working with Vanessa Guillen and her attorney that you see on the screen, and they will be meeting with Vanessa Guillen's family so they can help pass a bill to protect soldiers and people in the military from sexual assault. And Trump will actually be helping Vanessa Guillen's family pass a bill named after her to protect future soldiers from sexual assault.
And then we will start from the Capitol to the White House. I asked if we can have at the end of our procession of our peaceful protest that the president brings us into the Rose Garden, something perhaps to say some good words about Vanessa and the importance of our country's soldiers, keeping them safe. And this is not, a Democratic issue. This is not a Republican issue. I want everyone to know that this is not a Republican or Democratic issue. This is an American issue. This is our soldiers. This is their lives. This is every family's child, boy and girl. This could have happened to anyone. If it happens daytime, 11 a.m. on a base, the quote-unquote largest base, right, with people. It's not a forest where no one was around. The largest base, daytime. No one heard her screaming. No one saw her blood all over the room. There are glass windows in this office. So if that could have happened to Vanessa, this can happen to anyone. And our bill will make sure that this never happens again. And I appreciate the president's support of our bill. And I appreciate every congressman and senator's support of this bill. And I want them to pass this bill immediately with no hesitation, because we can't lose one more soldier in our country ever again.
So it is confirmed the meeting on July the 29th?
We will meet with the president July 29th privately. And then on July 30th, we will have our day for the world to see our bill and to support it.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Some viewers may find this disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi, my wonderful sweet babies. It's Destin Choice, and you're watching Choice TV. So for today's video, I really wanted to come on and speak about the whole Vanessa Guillen situation. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have heard about it because her death has literally sparked global outrage.
Overnight, hundreds marching to Houston's City Hall, demanding justice for Army soldier Vanessa Guillen.
Now, a lot of you guys have been asking me to speak about the whole Vanessa Guillen situation for the past, I'll say, couple of weeks, ever since she's gone missing. But I wanted to wait a while for stuff to come out, and now a lot of stuff has come out. Before I get into that, I want to tell you guys exactly who Vanessa Guillen is and why she's very essential to a lot of these conversations right now. Vanessa Guillen was born September 30th, 1999. She was a 20-year-old military soldier who had a huge passion for the Army by the time she was 10 years old. Once she graduated high school in 2018, she immediately applied and got accepted into Fort Hood military base, one of the most prestigious military bases in the world, with a population of over 25,000 people living on base. She's of Mexican and American descent, and she had a boyfriend named Juan Cruz. A couple months ago, back on April 22nd of 2020, Vanessa Guillen was asked to come into work to work a random shift. Since it was her day off, it was a little bit strange that she was called in, but Vanessa Guillen went to work anyways. She worked the morning shift with her former co-worker, Aaron Robinson.
Close the desk cover and make sure the M68's off. And that's rack safe. That's how all the weapons stay on the racks.
With this responsibility comes a strict adherence to ensuring safety is always a top priority.
You know that when you take a weapon that it is safe and that it is clear.
At the end of each shift, the weapons are returned and the armory is secure, only to repeat the process for the next shift, giving proof to the fact that defending the base is more than a 9-to-5 job.
And then once the morning shift was over, she wasn't heard from again, and the last time she was seen was around 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the military base parking lot. So since she wasn't heard from again, a lot of her family members started to get very worried. They constantly blew up her phone over and over and over again, and by the time it hit around 8 p.m. at night, her family, her sisters, and her friends and her boyfriend even contacted the military base asking about her whereabouts because they haven't heard from her within the past 10 to 12 hours. And it wasn't like Vanessa not to check in with her family, considering she was very close with them. So Vanessa Guillen's family got very, very worried and very nervous. So they called the military base right along with Vanessa's sisters and Vanessa's boyfriend, and they kept blowing them up, asking them about her whereabouts. So at around 8 p.m., Vanessa's family decided to contact the military base to ask questions, wondering where she was. It's 8 o'clock at night, and Vanessa's family is worried and don't even know where she is, asking, where is she? Have you seen her? Do you know when she'll get back? Do you know anyone that's around her? Who was she last with? And the military base refused to answer those questions. In fact, they just told Vanessa's family, don't worry about it. People don't normally check in on time. Give us some time. Mind you, this is at 8 p.m. And they told Vanessa's family to wait till 10 p.m. After that, the military base never got back to Vanessa's family. So a day later, on April 23rd, Vanessa's family got worried. Immediately after waking up in the morning, they realized no update from the military, no update from anyone, no one has seen her. So then they start to worry, and then they immediately put out a missing persons report. The police technically just wrote a report, and they didn't even look for her the same day. In fact, she was missing on the 22nd. They filed a report on the 23rd, and it didn't take until the 24th for the military to start looking for her. So the military waited 2 days to even look for her. According to the military, once they started looking for Vanessa Guillen, they realized that when they checked the armory room to go look for clues, that she had left behind her identification military card, her wallet, her car keys, and her room key. They didn't, however, find Vanessa Guillen's cell phone. It was almost as if Vanessa Guillen's cell phone was magically being hidden away. So then 6 days later, it took cops literally 6 days to interview their first suspect. And their first suspect was the dude who worked the shift with her. And the guy that was with her on her last day apparently was Aaron Robinson. Apparently, he was the only guy that was with her during her shift, and apparently he's allegedly the last person to be seen with her, considering that they were both employees working in the same shift and location. Within the week of Vanessa gone missing, her mother revealed some very revealing information. Vanessa's mother revealed that 4 days before she went missing, Vanessa admitted to her and her sisters that she had been sexually harassed by an upper sergeant. She also admitted that she was also sexually harassed by a sergeant from a higher rank. But when her mother told her to report it and speak up, Vanessa reportedly told her mother, no, don't worry about it. I don't want nothing to happen to you. Just let me handle it. And then 4 days later, out of nowhere, Vanessa winds up missing. And Vanessa's family highly suspects that whoever sexually harassed her days prior might have something to do with her disappearance.
Her loved ones say they need everyone's help to find her. Vanessa Guillen has been looking for her sister, Private First Class Vanessa Guillen, for nearly 3 days.
She usually messages us like how you're doing or something because she's like 4 hours away from us.
Vanessa was last seen on Fort Hood in the parking lot of her Regimental Engineer Squadron headquarters Wednesday afternoon.
She was just gone, so she just disappeared.
Her family has traveled from Houston to Fort Hood to look for her. Juan Cruz says he usually speaks with his girlfriend every single day.
Every minute that passes is like killing me inside slowly. I just hope she's okay. Hopefully we find her.
The 20-year-old soldier's car keys, barracks room key, identification card, and wallet were later found in the armory room where she was working on Wednesday.
And she wasn't there, and that's how we knew that something was really wrong.
Her loved ones tell me within the last 3 days, Vanessa's phone was pinged in Belton. That's just over a 20-minute drive from Fort Hood.
I'm really scared. I don't know what to expect, but I do know like we have to be prepared. But I don't really know how we prepare for these kinds of things.
The family is asking for anyone with information about where Vanessa could be to say something.
2 weeks later, in the middle of May, several witnesses came forth and claimed that they saw Aaron walk out of the armory room several times, and they seen him walk out with a large black Pelican case that looked really heavy that he was trying to fit in his trunk. These random witnesses wanted to stay anonymous, and although they stayed anonymous, they made it very clear that Aaron was struggling with a large box that he put in his trunk, which alluded to the fact that he might have put Vanessa, after he might have murdered her during the shift, into the box. The next day, law enforcement asked him for his cell phone, and he actually consented and gave up his phone so that they could search it. Aaron told law enforcement that he was with his girlfriend around the time that Vanessa went missing. He claims that right after his shift, he went right to go pick up his girlfriend and then he went home. But that wasn't completely accurate because when they checked his phone, it was revealed that he was actually in a whole different area that resembled a swamp/lake area. Aaron claimed the night after work he was with his girlfriend Cecily Aguilar all day, but that wasn't accurate because when they checked the phone records of his phone, it revealed that the data showed that he was actually at this location around the same time Vanessa's parents called the military base. Exactly 1 month later, investigators decided to find enough information to eventually pull up on his girlfriend. They pulled up to their apartment and they asked his girlfriend to come in for interviewing to confirm his alibi on where he was that night. She claimed at first that they were together. She countlessly denied that he was anywhere else, but the phone data proved that he was somewhere else and she was somewhere else too. So after months and months of Vanessa being missing and the detectives just taking their sweet time, Vanessa's family, boyfriend, and her sisters decided to take to social media, and they decided to trend the hashtag Vanessa Guillen to get Vanessa justice and the justice that she deserves because law enforcement was taking their sweet time just to investigate things. It literally took them 2 months just to interview the suspect, and Vanessa's family were growing tired and fed up. And as social media started to bring this all more attention, that's when the military base started to get very nervous, and all of a sudden, that's when they wanted to get on national television and live stream themselves announcing awareness for Vanessa, announcing people help and keep a lookout. All of a sudden, now that it's gone viral.
Leaders at Fort Hood went before cameras today to answer questions for the first time since the soldier went missing on April 22nd.
Pains me that the Army feels that way. And the purpose of this briefing here is to demonstrate the amount of effort and energy, intellect, and resources at the national, state, and local level that have gone into finding Vanessa.
So as time went on and they kept interviewing Cecily and Aaron Robinson throughout the month of May, their stories weren't adding up. But investigators had no evidence at all to make anything stick. But it wasn't until a month later, on June 30th, until they found Vanessa's body. A group of contractors were working on building a fence, and as they were digging and looking for areas to build a fence, they randomly stumbled across human remains buried and burnt.
And contractors working on a fence in that area discovered partial human remains encased in concrete and covered with lime and dirt. At 8:30 that night, Cecily Aguilar confessed, and I warn you, the details are not easy to hear. She said Aaron told her he killed Vanessa in the armory with a hammer. Then he put her body into a large pelican case, otherwise known as a tough box, and left her in the armory until he came back for her that night. And that's when witnesses saw him struggling to load the box into his car. Now, in the early morning hours of April 23rd, he picked Cecily up at the gas station where she worked, and together they went back to the place where he dumped the box containing Vanessa. That was by the Leon River near a bridge. Cecily knows for sure it was Vanessa because Aaron opened the box to show her. Using a machete, they dismembered her to make her easier to burn. When they weren't able to completely burn her body, they buried her in 3 different places, knowing they'd be coming back to finish the job.
On June 30th, Vanessa Guillen's body was randomly found. Literally, they've been looking for her for 2 months, and they didn't find her body until June, considering she's been missing since April. So out of nowhere, the day law enforcement found Vanessa's body, they told Cecily Aguilar, Aaron's girlfriend, hey, confess, snitch on yourself and snitch on your boyfriend, or this is going to get worse. Cecily immediately got nervous. And once she got nervous, she made it very, very clear that Aaron admitted to her personally that he did it. She also claims that she physically saw Vanessa in the box. On the day investigators found her body on June 30th, it was revealed that her cause of death was during her time in the armory weapons room during her shift. Apparently, Aaron, who was working the same shift as her that particular day, took a hammer and he savagely beat her with it to the point where her entire face was shattered and blood splattered everywhere. Not only that, we also find out that Vanessa's teeth were severely shattered into millions of pieces, and then after that, Aaron killed her, put her into the case, and then he put the case into his trunk, brought his girlfriend to it, showed it to her, then they left, came back 4 days later, and finished the burying job.
She was mutilated because of sexual harassment and sexual assault, because we don't have a system in place that will provide for a woman like that to go and report.
And Lord and behold, guess what happens? After his girlfriend snitched on him on June 30th, the day Vanessa Guillen's body was finally found and chopped up, we find out that as police were looking for him, we find out that the minute police officers approached him, he apparently committed suicide.
20-year-old Army Specialist Aaron Robinson was identified as the suspect in Guillen's case. Robinson died by suicide when authorities made contact with him on Wednesday, according to the Army's Criminal Investigation Command. Authorities say Robinson's girlfriend, 22-year-old Cecily Aguilar, told investigators he asked her to help hide Guillen's body. Aguilar has been charged with 1 count of conspiracy to tamper with evidence.
So y'all heard that, right? According to law enforcement and U.S. Marshals, the day his girlfriend snitched on him and gave them a confession out of fear, randomly he left the base to go flee apparently, and this is where he was. This is where police caught him. He was randomly standing around this area, and as they were crossing the street to approach him, he randomly pulled out a gun and shot himself. That's it. That's all. No one saw anything. All those houses around, all those stores around, no one caught it on camera. No witnesses heard a gunshot. We're just supposed to just accept what the U.S. Marshals and the police had to say, that he apparently killed himself.
Disturbing new details tonight in the disappearance of a young soldier from Fort Hood in Texas. More than 2 months after U.S. Army Private Vanessa Guillen vanished from the base, a person of interest in the case is now dead, and her family is demanding justice. Here's CBS's Maria Villarreal.
Army investigators remain tight-lipped about the disappearance of Specialist Vanessa Guillen, even after human remains were found in this Central Texas field on Tuesday.
There are obviously pieces of information and evidence that cannot be shared with the public during an active criminal investigation.
Today, the Army did confirm Specialist Aaron Robinson was a suspect in Guillen's disappearance. Robinson died by suicide when police approached him near Fort Hood just yesterday. An hour later, another suspect, a female civilian, was arrested for her involvement in the case. The Guillen sisters and their attorney recently met with Army investigators. They say they were told their sister Vanessa was bludgeoned with a hammer and murdered.
Clearly, after 70 days, we haven't obtained answers, justice.
Vanessa's family has consistently said the young soldier was sexually harassed on base but was too afraid to come forward. But Army investigators say so far there is no evidence Guillen was sexually harassed, and they made it clear Robinson was not her superior. Still, Major General Scott Eflant announced today he is ordering an external investigation of Fort Hood's sexual harassment program.
Remains have yet not been confirmed, but I still don't lose hope. My mother's on bed right now with them pills. Why? Because they lied to our faces every single day that passed. Every single day, which is 2 months, more than 2 months. My sister Vanessa Guillen was sexually harassed, yet nothing was done to it. For her lacks of responsibility, safety, and respect, because they didn't respect my sister. They didn't keep my sister safe. They always try to cover up for each other. Why? My sister's a human too. She deserves respect. She deserves to be heard. Because if this can happen to my sister, it can happen to anyone else. My sister was also sexually harassed, and this led to this. They don't protect our suffrage women and men. They're the ones putting their life at risk every day. For the nation and for us. Just like my sister. How can this happen on military base? suffering from sexual harassment, suffering from sexual assault because they report it, yet they take it as a joke. My sister's no joke. My sister's a human being. And I want justice. And I want answers. Because my sister did not do this to herself. Someone did it. And there's not one someone. It's various people. And if this can happen to my sister, what makes you think it can happen to other service women and men? They don't care about us. My sister's an example of it. My sister did not deserve to suffer. My sister did not deserve this. But yet I do not lose hope on God. Because God has the last word. My sister deserves justice. That's why we demand a congressional investigation to be done. Because Fort Hood, the great place, hasn't done anything at all. And this is the proof they have lied to us. They don't work for anything. They lie to us every single time. My mother's in bed with pills. My mother does not deserve this. I don't deserve this. My family does not deserve this. Vanessa Guillen did not deserve this. And if those criminals are still out there, take my word that we will not rest, we will not stop, and we will keep fighting until you're behind bars. Because you're a disgrace to humanity. You're a disgrace. Mi madre, Gloria Guillen, está en cama con pastillas. Los restos humanos no han sido confirmados, pero no pierdo la esperanza en Dios. Mi hermana Vanessa Guillen fue acosada sexualmente en base mientras estaba trabajando.
Let me just say that this all sounds a little bit suspect because she was missing since April 22nd. The military constantly lied to her family and told her, we got it under control, we got it under control.
What did Vanessa tell her family about her superior?
She said that she was in a shower. I think it was like some kind of locker room or some kind of area that she went into the shower where, no male should be in. And he walked in on her while she was showering and sat down. And she told him that it was uncomfortable, that he shouldn't be in there and to leave.
Did Vanessa tell her family anything about her relationship with this superior?
She did say that he's somebody she works with, and she didn't go into detail with that other than she was uncomfortable and she didn't want to report it because she didn't want to get in trouble because he was her superior.
Is this person, being questioned or being investigated in connection with her disappearance?
I mean, I'm assuming that he is. They won't provide us with any information. They won't even tell us whether he was with her that day, who was with her that day. They've literally left us in the dark. I found that after that meeting, they were not being forthright. They were not being transparent. They were being elusive, evasive. And then they said a lot of statements that were false to us at the hearing, such as they said that Myra, Vanessa's sister, they called Myra to inform the family that she was missing, when in fact it's the opposite. Myra was the one who called them.
Now, a congresswoman actually wanted to go there and investigate herself, and she's a very powerful woman. Sylvia Garcia wanted to go there and see how the armory room looks. She wanted to look around and investigate, and she wanted to bring a camera crew with her. The military didn't even allow her to go in the armory room where Vanessa was murdered. They didn't allow anyone in there. In fact, what they did do was let her go inside of another armory room where it's identical, but it wasn't the same armory room.
The congresswoman says the whole situation has been troubling since the beginning. She visited Fort Hood with the family and got a tour of an armory room, similar, but not the one where Guillen was killed.
They just wanted to give her an idea of how it looked, which was total bullshit to me. And now a lot of people on social media are suspecting that this is all some type of fucking cover-up, because I genuinely do not believe Aaron Robinson committed suicide. The reason I don't believe he killed himself is because it just doesn't make any sense. There's no evidence that ties him to it, and then all of a sudden we had witnesses come out of nowhere 2 weeks before he committed suicide, saying, "Oh yeah, we saw him. We saw him with a black case. We saw him with a black case." I have a feeling that he was probably dead when they found him, because why is he like out and about randomly just standing in the street? Where was his car? Matter of fact, apparently since he's dead, where's the murder weapon? What kind of gun was it? Where's his family? Did his family identify the body? Did his family speak out? Is there going to be a funeral? We're not even getting much information about this Aaron Robinson guy, but apparently we're supposed to believe that he just committed suicide out of nowhere because he felt guilty. Doesn't make any sense. And apparently they really want the public to buy it, and a lot of people are buying it. Now, this woman right here, Cecily Aguilar, I definitely don't believe that she's innocent, but I definitely do not believe that she had anything to do with it. He killed himself the day she confessed is suspect. Because my guess is this: since she gave them a confession, I feel like the police probably coerced her and told her, just confess, just confess. We can give you a short sentence, we'll give you 20 years, but if you're on good behavior, we can give you 11 years. Just give us a confession. And then once she gave them a confession, that's when they all of a sudden wanted to close the case. And then all they had to do was go get him, and then boom, he ends up dead because he ended up killing himself the day they were like approaching him. So they claim that as soon as they were ready to approach him and arrest him, he got a gun and he shot himself. Where's the gun? Matter of fact, since it was right across the street from a Dollar General, why isn't there camera or audio footage of him committing suicide? Why don't I hear gunshots? Like, I want to hear an audio of there being a gunshot. What about these cops? Why weren't these cops wearing body cams? Because most cops have on body cams. Matter of fact, what about this? Why didn't the cops have dash cams? Where were their cars? Because everyone knows that if a cop doesn't have a body cam, they more than likely have a dash cam. Play the audio of a gunshot being fired and prove to me that he actually killed himself, instead of me taking your word for it. Everybody knows police officers and obviously the army looks out for one another, and they're definitely not going to let each other go down. So I genuinely believe that they coerced this woman to speak up and confess so that way they can close the case. And then mind you, Vanessa was called in on her day off. So this is what I want to know. Who called her on her day off? Who let her into the gate? And I find it funny how they can't even find her cell phone. And as I talk about this, I really want to bring up how sexual assault and definitely sexual molestation, sexual abuse is a very common thing in the military. Now, in the midst of Vanessa Guillen going viral, a lot of people have been talking about their stories of being abused and sexual assault in the military. Now, these cases normally go unnoticed, and I never knew how common sexual assault in the military was until I was watching an episode of Bad Girls Club with one of the cast members named Maladria, who actually spoke up and told her story on the show.
Stripper, you gotta know how to have a mouthpiece. What got you like dancing? Like, I got raped when I was in the Navy. Damn. And I was dancing before that. I'm like, I'm not gonna let this man taking something from me that's already been taken. So you're not ripping me of something. You're really ripping me of the fact that really rape bitches out here.
Believe it or not, a lot of these cases just don't happen amongst women. A lot of it happen amongst men too.
They come in, open the door, and I can see them all there, so I know what's going to happen. They're smiling. They rush me off my chair and throw me on my bed to where half my body's on the bed and half my legs are hanging off. One guy grabs around my legs, holding both of them in one arm, and the other two sergeants put a knee on my shoulder here and a knee on my shoulder here and held my arms down so I couldn't do anything. And they both proceeded to, they ripped my pants down and just did the same thing as this happened to my roommate. They were funneling my genitals. The specialist that had my legs kept trying to put fingers in my anus, and he did successfully, repeatedly. And it was the same thing, just this is our dance, this is our dance. They're smiling. I'm flailing around, and I'm kind of nervous laughing just because I have no idea how to react to this.
When I reported my assaults, I was laughed at, I was ridiculed.
I was told that how could I possibly want to tarnish a good serviceman's military career, and that I was a liar, a whore, and a slut, and that if I wanted to keep my military career, I should drop any kind of verbiage of rape, take an aspirin, and go to bed.
I was sent back to the station with a recommendation to get med-boarded out for adjustment disorder.
I've heard of cases where victims were charged with undermining the chain of command. Victims were charged with insubordination.
If you say something, your career is over.
I signed up to protect and serve, but that's not what the military decided to do for me.
Now, of course, in the military, they actually educate people about sexual assault and say how it's important, how you shouldn't do it. But obviously that doesn't really stop anybody from doing it, because normally most people who do speak up, statistically, at least a good 25% of them actually end up getting bullied out of the military, struggle with mental health issues, or normally get reassigned and have to deal with mental trauma afterward. You know, I do think it's a little bit insane that this is so common, but I think it's even more insane how a lot of these people who do these sexual acts and these horrible acts never face repercussions for their actions. So if you see something, please say something. What's even worse about this situation is there's no actual third party for people who've been sexually assaulted or sexually abused in the military. There's no third party for them to contact. For example, when you guys walk into a school or go on a college campus, you ever see these flyers that say, if you've dealt with sexual assault, or if you've been through this, or someone makes you feel uncomfortable, call this number, blah, blah, blah. Like, the military doesn't have that. Normally, you have to report it to your superior. But how was Vanessa able to report it to her superior when one of her superiors was the one that did it? Like why are people asking these questions? We're supposed to just believe what she says, and we're supposed to believe what the police say when they say apparently they had on hairnets, gloves, they bought cement. Like, who just has cement lying around? Like, what two suburban individuals from the South just have cement just lying around just like that? Hairnets and gloves just lying around just like that, ready to just cover up a body. Who has a lot of that stuff just lying around like that? It was so weird. Now it's even more weird how they're really trying to like close this case and make it seem like, oh yeah, this Aaron guy was psychotic. You know, he was a crazy person. Like they're really trying to paint him as if he was like this psychotic person with mental health issues. Meanwhile, there's no report of him having mental health issues. There's no report of him having any type of medication. He doesn't even have a criminal record. She doesn't even have a criminal record. So how am I supposed to believe that they conspired to create this murder? They don't even have as much as a fucking traffic ticket. But I'm supposed to believe that they conspired to commit some murder? No, this is what I believe. I believe that they did that shit. And I definitely believe that Fort Hood did that shit, because here's a very interesting fact that a lot of people don't know. In the midst of Vanessa Guillen getting discovered, because like I said earlier in this video, contractors who were building a fence randomly saw burned up ashes, and as they were digging up, they saw human remains. In the midst of that, they also found another dead body that was actually buried not too far from Vanessa.
Yesterday, a tip was given to Fort Hood investigators that led authorities to find skeletal remains here on Kings Court off of Florence Road in Killeen. And this morning, the mother of Gregory Morales, Kim Waddell, said that was the body of her son that went missing off of Fort Hood in August of 2019. The last known contact with the Fort Hood soldier was on August 20th of 2019. Morales was out processing from the Army and was scheduled to be discharged within a couple of days when he disappeared, according to the U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Command. The command offered a reward of up to $25,000 for any information to find the missing soldier.
And that body was from a man by the name of Gregory Morales. Gregory Morales was literally missing since last year, August. Everyone forgot about his case, and now we see him buried not too far, a couple inches away from Vanessa. Then there's another scandal. If you guys didn't know, a few soldiers from Fort Hood actually got mixed up in the midst of a sex trafficking scandal.
A total of 10 people were arrested, 8 of them for trafficking and agreeing to engage in sex acts for a fee, 2 of them soldiers at Fort Hood.
And there's no update on whether or not they even work for the military base anymore. So I found that really interesting how they have all these random scandals, all these cases of 2 people being missing besides Vanessa. They were intertwined with a human trafficking scandal, and no one's asking them about that. How was there no camera footage of her entering the base and no camera footage of her entering bathrooms, talking to somebody? They don't have no camera footage of her last moment. It's almost like they're trying to erase it. They're trying to erase it as if she went in for her work shift, she was murdered there, and then boom, that was it. A guy confessed, and his girl confessed. It's done, it's over. It was just a crazy guy and his crazy girlfriend. They have no motive, they have no DNA evidence, they have no fingerprints, they have nothing that attaches him to that case. They have nothing other than the fact that his phone actually went off while he was in the area. That's the only thing they have. A lot of people are even believing that this was a way for them to harvest her organs, because if you guys didn't know, human trafficking doesn't just have to do with kidnapping people and then selling them for sex. Human trafficking can also mean kidnapping people and then harvesting their organs or sell their organs on the black market. So just looking at all these soldiers who are silent about sexual assault and say that they encourage victims to come forward, it just really goes to show you that a lot of people probably know something, have probably seen something, but are staying silent. And no one is coming forward about sexual assault in this time, in this time right now, in the midst of the Me Too movement, because everyone is pretty much terrified that they could face repercussions, they could lose their jobs, or they could even get blackballed. I really wish I had advice for men and women who are in the military who experience sexual assault. But unfortunately, I really don't know what to say, because you would think that when you see these people in uniforms, you know, having discipline apparently are orderly, upstanding citizens, you would think that they'd be the last people you suspect. But I guess it just goes to show you that sometimes moral character doesn't necessarily come with the badge that you get. The Vanessa Guillen situation is probably going to evoke a lot of change and cause a lot of things to happen. And right now, lawmakers are trying to potentially pass a rule that protects people against sexual assault. And it's really unfortunate that they have to do this in the first place, because it should be common knowledge for them to enforce rules or laws that get rid of sexual assault in the military. Right now, Vanessa's family is in the midst of trying to stir up an investigation because they really want things to be investigated privately, because obviously you can't even trust the police officers or the U.S. Marshals or even their own military. This is just simply a case where the system failed this young woman. And then she was also failed by her peers, because there were people that actually knew what she was experiencing because she told them and they said nothing. And the people she told are anonymous. You don't even know who she told. So this is what I think should be done, and this is how I think we should shut all this shit down. I think we need to find more footage. I think the military is lying about whatever footage they have. I think they need to release any footage that they have of her last moments, of her, from her entering the military base, from them opening the gate and letting her in, from her clocking in, from what she did, when she connected to the Wi-Fi, and her moves every time. Who saw her here? Who saw her then? Where did they see her go? And go from there. I also think there needs to be a deeper investigation for if that man actually committed suicide. What angle was the gun pointed? Because all we're hearing is he took out the gun and shot himself. Where did he shoot himself? His head, his chest, his throat? Where did he shoot himself at? They couldn't even tell us that. All they said is that he shot himself and committed suicide. Not every person that shoots himself in the head. What kind of weapon was it? They didn't even tell us what weapon it was. Was it a Glock 40? Was it an AR-15? So not only should they investigate her every move from when she first entered, because I know they got some type of surveillance footage, they need to investigate if that suicide is actually true. And they need to investigate on whether or not that woman is telling the truth. Because sometimes police officers do that shit where they coerce certain people who obviously aren't innocent. I know y'all seen Central Park 5, the movie, When They See Us, where they try to coerce people to confess to a crime, where if you're not innocent, they want you to confess something. They manipulate you into thinking, well, you can get a good deal. And I want everyone watching this to understand that if someone, especially a cop, tells you that you'll get a deal, make sure you get it in writing. Or if you don't get it in writing, make sure you have an actual lawyer who's there to attend. She didn't even have a lawyer. This girl didn't have a lawyer. She was just being told and confessed to the cops because she felt bad the day they found her body. I don't believe that shit. And I want a private forensic investigator to go into that armory room and dust for something. Because they're not allowing anyone in there other than the U.S. Marshals and the 1 or 2 investigators investigating. I feel like they purposely attached his girlfriend there because they wanted a confession. Because everyone knows this is not a one-person thing. They wanted to attach his girlfriend to it and frame them. So that way they could attach 2 people to it so it could look like a 2-person job. When I feel like this was probably an 8-person job. That military base needs to be shut the fuck down immediately. And I think they're finally getting their moment and their karma, because there's been a lot of sketchy things happening there for the past couple of 5 years. But that's that for this video. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Please be sure to leave your comments in the section down below. Let me know what you guys think. And I want to make it very clear before I leave. If you see something, say something. If somebody who's a superior of you, who's a co-worker of you, who's a colleague of you, takes advantage of their power to hit on you in any kind of way that you don't like, harasses you in any kind of way, say something. It might be difficult. You might be scared that your life might be ruined. But imagine what they'll do to the next person. Be the change that you want to see. And yeah, that's that. Justice for Vanessa Guillen. Choice out this bitch. If you've made it to the end, please feel free to donate to Vanessa Guillen's family's GoFundMe. Anything helps.